Good morning everyone, and happy 2023. I know my last video was technically released after the new year, but it was filmed before the new year. This is my first time filming a video after the new year, so happy new year. As I've grown up, I've kind of thought about the new year and making resolutions and setting goals, and I've realized that the concept of setting a goal on New Year's is really great. The issue is that a lot of times that doesn't work out. I'm sure you know what I'm saying, and I've wanted to find a solution to that. Obviously, the best solution for that would be to just do your goals, complete them, whatever, but that's not always the case, you know? Maybe that's not the best way to do things anyways. Focusing on things that we do or things that we want to do doesn't always help us. Like the goals that we set, you know, to lose weight or to go to the gym usually doesn't work out. As we focus more on who we can become, all of the other things that we can do fall into line. And so this year, do some self-reflection over the past 12 months or 6 months or 2 years or 5 years, whatever, and just think about who we were back then and who we are now. And obviously that's not as specific as the goals are that we usually set for New Year's, but really just think about who we are, just the thoughts that you have about yourself, about other people, about your job, about whatever thing. Try to think about them in a more positive light. And I guarantee you, if you do that every day, starting now, or not even every day, if you do it more now than you've ever done it before, you will see changes in your life. Now, I didn't come on here just to talk to you guys about goals and New Year's resolutions or anything like that. I'm going to be driving about an hour across Phoenix this morning for work, and so I wanted to get on here and tell you guys about something that I've been wanting to talk about for a while. Before we get too deep into the RX8 on the channel, I wanted to take some time to explain the backstory of the RX8. I think as car enthusiasts and as enthusiasts of anything really, you know, not everybody watching this video is a car enthusiast, I'm sure. But just think of something that you like or that you are enthusiastic about, and I can guarantee you that those things that make you like that thing are the same things that make me like cars. And so I wanted to give you guys this backstory so that you can understand a little more of why the RX8 means so much to me. I want you guys to know where that passion comes from. So it all started around, I think I was like 10 years old. My mom was driving me somewhere, and off to the side I see a yellow car. I saw that car, it caught my attention obviously being yellow, and I saw that car and I said, whoa, that's a really cool car. I didn't really know anything about cars back then. And yeah, I must have seen it in Need for Speed or something. So I saw it and I was like, dang, that's a cool car. I go home and I'm like, I think that was a Mazda RX8. I type it up in the internet and it brings up a picture and I'm like, that's it, that's the car I saw. So that was like one of the first cars that I remember seeing and being like, whoa, that's a cool car. So throughout my teenage years, I loved the RX8. I loved other cars too, you know, but I always kept coming back to the RX8 for whatever reason. You know, fast forward 10 years, I'm in the position where I can buy myself my first car. I definitely did not buy an RX8. If you know anything about RX8s, I'm sure you've heard that they are very unreliable. And so I definitely was not going to get one as my first car. I definitely thought about it. I looked them up on OfferUp. I saw that $3,000 price tag and I'm like, ooh, that's the cheapest car I've seen yet. I want that one. My teenage brain wanted to say yes, but I couldn't. And so I ended up buying a Mazda Speed 3, which is definitely the best first car you could ever own. I want to say it was about a year later after I bought my first car, I was getting that itch again. But I knew I wasn't going to get one because I had just gotten married. We didn't have money. I was still in college. And so I wasn't going to buy another car that I didn't need. That would probably cause us financial problems. I wasn't going to do it, but I had plans in the future to definitely buy one. And so I was preparing myself for that. So I went on Craigslist and I searched Mazda RX8. First thing that pops up is an ad that says free RX8 interior. So then my gears started turning, up here I mean, and I started thinking, if I've got this nice, it was pristine interior, this really nice interior that I can go pick up for free, maybe I can find a junkyard RX8 that has a bad interior and get the nice interior that I already had for free and put it together, right? I told my wife, I was like, hey, there's this nice interior, like what if I got that, and then down the line, you know, a couple years from now when we're ready to buy an RX8, then I'll have this nice interior. It was kind of like one of those dumb thoughts that it was an invasive thought and I couldn't resist it. So I said it to my wife and she said, okay, but I have to come with you because I don't want you going alone to some sketchy place and getting murdered while I'm not there. So we get in the Speed 3 and it ended up being a really nice neighborhood. And so we pull up to the house and so yeah, we start loading up the parts. I mean, it was all of the seats, all of the door panels, everything, all the trim, everything was included in this interior, and it was the black leather. And the guy says, well, do you have an RX8 or are you just trying to get, you know, earn some money from this? And I was like, no, I don't have one right now, but I want to get one in the future. And I saw this interior, it was really nice condition, so I thought I might as well have this, you know, this interior for when I get one. He's like, well, if you're interested in buying one, you know, the car that this came from is sitting in my buddy's apartment complex and it's going to the junkyard in 16 days. Blown engine, whatever. All I want is as much as the junkyard was going to give me. So I'm thinking, I don't know how much junkyards usually, you know, give you for junk cars, but I'm thinking it's still going to be $1,000 or $2,000. I'm like, yeah, sorry, like I don't have the time or whatever I said. And he says, okay, $400 and it's yours. And I'm like, okay, another intrusive thought. I wanted to say yes so bad. I knew, or I thought my wife wouldn't be happy about it. You know, we didn't have a place to put it. Yeah, I was in no position to get the car. Oh, look. That is like exactly what my first car looked like. That Speed 3. Sorry, dangerous. I get back in the car. I look at my wife and I say, hey babe, he's selling his RX8 for $400, but I know we don't have space for it, and I don't think we should be spending the money on a broken car. And she was like, you should get it. And I was like, what? Couldn't believe my ears. But then, you know, I was like, well, we don't have space. We don't have space to put it anywhere. But we got to thinking, my parents have a big porch in their backyard. You know, it's covered and everything. And I was thinking like, okay, what if we convince them to let us put it in their backyard? Another intrusive thought. So many intrusive thoughts in this story. So I think we called her up on that drive home. Okay, Mom, so I was wanting to buy this car, but it's got a dead engine, and so I would have to rebuild it, and I was wondering if I could use your backyard to put it while I'm rebuilding it. I don't think she was happy about it at first. I'd have to ask her again to see what she was actually thinking, but she said yes, and I was like, wow, like this is insane. I was taking free interior parts today, and now I'm gonna be buying a whole car. So I got back in touch with the guy. I can take the car, $400, sounds good to me. When can I pick it up? And so he gives me the address of his buddy's apartments where it was sitting, and then I got a hold of one of my buddies with the truck to help me tow it. We used the tow strap, hook it up to the RX8, and we tow it all the way back to my parents' house. It was like a 30-minute drive. Kind of sketchy. I was in the car while my buddy was in the truck towing, and I'm just, you know, on the brakes and stuff and steering. I mean, it was pretty sketchy, but it was a good time, and I'm super grateful for my buddy for helping me out with that. Jeez, dude, go faster. I think this was summer of 2020, if I'm not mistaken, and it sat in my mom's backyard for a couple months while I was getting the rebuild kit, and then I pulled the engine, tore it down completely to the bare bones. I learned what an apex seal looks like. I ended up replacing all those and all the gaskets and everything that you can need to rebuild the engine, put it back together, slapped it back in the car, and voila, I had a running RX8. The issue was that was the first time I'd ever rebuilt any engine, let alone a rotary engine. So there was a crack in the block, but it was in one of the irons, and so I got a new iron, put that one in. There was another crack that I didn't see, didn't replace that iron, and so there was low compression. It would idle fine for a while, and as soon as it heated up, it would die. I was very sad about that, but I mean, I was sad, but let me tell you, I was so excited on that first startup. I'll put a video up here. family, my wife, everybody was ecstatic that I finally got the car running. And so even though the car didn't run perfectly, even though it stalled and didn't idle for very long, didn't hot start, I got a car running and I learned so much. And I just did it. I wasn't so much thinking like, what am I gonna do to make sure that this engine stays alive for as long as possible because I want it to live forever. Like I was thinking like, what can I do to get this engine running? What's the bare minimum? And so, that's why it didn't really work out. But at the same time, that's also why I was able to do it. Because the other way around, I would never have done it. I wouldn't have been able to do it. I drove it around for a little bit. And so I came to the conclusion that I had to tear it back down and either rebuild it again, send it off somewhere to get it rebuilt, or just buy a new engine. And I ended up deciding to just buy a new engine, or a used new engine, a newer engine from like one of those import places. So the car sat probably around a year while I was saving money for the new engine and getting that ready. Bought the new engine December of 2021. And obviously slapping in a new engine is way easier than tearing down the old one and rebuilding it and putting it back in. So that was, super easy, and it ran and it was good. And I was terrified that it was gonna die on me every single time I drove it. I just wanted to make sure that it was good before I drove it any far distances, until I finally got the courage to drive it the 30 minutes to my apartment. Figured the car was good, everything's checked out, it seemed fine. Drove it to my apartment. It was the most terrifying drive, but we did it and the car did fine, like more than fine. Never overheated, never anything. It was perfect. It was the best case scenario, like the car finally ran, everything was good. Now we've got it at the apartment, and that's pretty much it. I mean, up until now, it's been sitting at the apartment. I drive it every once in a while, like I said. It still needs to pass emissions, and so that's the next step. Like you saw in the other video, we're getting it prepared for emissions. We had to get the catalytic converter for it. But yeah, that's the story. Thought I'd let you guys in on it before we dig too deep into the RX8. I want you guys to know what it's all about, where it came from, where it's going. I guess I haven't really touched on where it's going yet, but that will be in another video. It's gonna get rowdy. If you've got an RX8, if your friends have an RX8, share this video with them, please. I wanna be able to help people out as well with these videos. I hate this part of Phoenix. I mean, I hate most parts of Phoenix, but this part right here is the most terrifying part of Phoenix, because if you want to merge at all, it's like you're gonna die. You're gonna get nailed. Anyways, thanks a lot, guys. If you have any questions about the RX8, comment them down below. I'll try to get to them. But thank you guys so much for watching the video. And if you liked it, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, stick around for the next video because we'll finally be getting the cat installed. But until then, my name's Hayden, this is Map Speed with 2 B's.
Take the exit, then keep right.
And I will see you guys in the next one.